Hi and welcome. I'm here today for Technique Junkies design team making this Praying Hands card using a new stamp from the March 22 release. In case you haven't had a chance to check it out, head on over to Technique Junkies to see all the new stamps that are part of the new release. If you're like me and you gotta have it all, check out the Gotta Have It All bundle, which is discounted for you. When you put this in your cart, it's automatically discounted. My card features the new Praying Hands stamp, as well as a sentiment stamp that was previously released. The sentiment stamp is called Difficult Time, set of 2. I used them together to create a Sympathy card. Okay, this is the sentiment set, Difficult Time, set of 2. It's from a previous release. If you use my discount code, which is TJ10Tracy, you'll save 10%. Now, the 10% doesn't apply to the new release because right now, because new release stamps are on sale for 15% off between now and March 8th. Now, my coupon code TJ10Tracy is good for all non-sale items. So it's good for anything else you would put in your cart, or if, for example, you're watching this video, a month or two from now and the new release sale is over, you could use my discount code to get 10% off of your stamps. So I think I stamped this twice. First time I used a dark ink, and I think the second time I used a lighter ink. So yeah, the first time I used VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. Now I'm going to be using Twilight ink from Catherine Pooler. My plan is to cut these out, fussy cut these out when I make my card. Then I go in with Blackjack because Twilight just wasn't dark enough, or maybe I just needed to re-ink my ink pad. I'm not sure. By the way, you can get Catherine Pooler inks at Technique Junkies, so check that out. I think these turned out really nice, but for the card that I have in mind, I'm going to shift to a cream colored paper. And I'm going to use a different color ink as opposed to a black. I'm going to use Vintage Photo Distress ink. I just thought that this would look really nice and antique looking. Because for my card, and you saw it earlier, it is more distressed looking. Okay, so I just keep stamping this over and over again until I get the Praying Hands to look dark enough for my satisfaction. And I have to say, the Praying Hands, the line work and the artwork is super cool. Of course, with red rubber stamps, you're going to get a great detail. That's what's so nice about them. All right, then I go in with a different color ink. So I think I was experimenting here just to make sure I was getting the right color. You can turn these at an angle. You don't have to do them straight up and down. That's Distress Ink Walnut Stain. It's a little bit darker than Vintage Photo. And I'm really pleased with that. That's nice and dark. That's probably the one that I'll use on my card. Okay, now I'm going to stamp my sentiment. This one says, thinking of you during this difficult time. That's the one that I'm going to use. Again, this is called Difficult Time, set of 2. And what I'll do is I grab the Walnut Stain Distress ink. I'll go ahead and stamp it. I think I did it a couple times just to make sure I got a good impression and that I would have what I need for my card. I can always use the extra on future cards. My plan is to die cut these and use one of these at the bottom of the Praying Hands. The other sentiment says, sending caring thoughts during this difficult time. Okay, so I did speed this up in the interest of time. Now that I have my sentiments ready, I am going to be doing some ink blending in a few minutes. So I have my Make Art Station, and I have a silicone baking mat piece of one that will help me when I do my next step. So what I'm doing, you probably can't see it on the camera, but I am fussy cutting the praying hands. These are quite easy to cut out and look very nice once they are cut out, or you can just keep them as a one-dimensional card stamped onto your card panel. It took me a minute to do the fussy cutting, so I did cut some of that out of the video. But you see here I'm finishing up, and it looks really nice. I think that cream colored paper, sort of a linen look, it really just adds a little something different because you're so used to seeing white cardstocks and white elements for the cards. All right. Next, we're going to tear a piece of paper out of a book. So our library had a used book sale, and I'm telling you, these books were ancient. So I picked a couple of them up knowing that I can use them in my card making. So what I'm going to do here is trim this page from this book down with my decal trimmer, which is a little bit tricky because the paper is very thin. I think it's probably one of the thinnest pages I've ever had to work with. But luckily, the decal trimmer has that nice sharp edge. So what it doesn't trim through, for whatever reason, because the paper's so thin, it doesn't trim as well. You would think it'd be completely opposite, right? But I just go ahead. I'm just trying to eyeball this up and think about what part of the text do I want to keep for my project? What part do I want to get rid of? So this was some kind of dictionary, and I tore a page out that talked about the Holy Grail, which is really weird because it kind of goes along with the theme of my card, which is, a religious overtone for whatever, you want to call it. But it was just ironic that my page had like a definition sort of literature, it was some kind of dictionary of literature, and basically it was explaining how the Holy Grail is used in certain plays and literature. Definitely plays, because this book was old. It certainly wasn't talking about movies or anything like that. So anyways, just take your time and get this down to, what I did was I trimmed it down to 4 by 5 1/4. It doesn't have to be pretty because the next step is going to be distressing the page. But I did try to at least get it to be the right measurements, in other words. And while I have my decal trimmer out, I'm going to decal trim my sentiment. I know I said earlier that I thought I die cut it, but I forgot. I used my decal trimmer. It is very nice to have a decal trimmer when you go to cut your sentiments. There's just something about, like, I'm so able to cut so close to the words without cutting the words. If I don't want to cut that close, obviously I can back off and give it more space. But I do love this trimmer. It's not only for cutting sentiments, but of course for cutting different card panels and whatnot. But this is going to be perfect for my card. It's going to give it that nice distress look. Okay, so I've got my card base, which is the same sort of off-white antique linen, like a linen color. And I've got my sentiment and my praying hands and my paper. So I'm going to crinkle this up. Yes, I am crinkling it up because I want it to look distressed. I'm going to move these components out of the way and grab a vintage photo and a sponge dauber. This is just a small sponge dauber, the kind you might see people use with paint. It's real soft. I don't want anything real rough or thick or anything that's going to make a thick application. I'm just looking for a thin way to distress this paper. Now the inside doesn't matter. The center doesn't really matter that much. It's the outside edges that matter the most because the praying hands will be covering up the center. So I'm just eyeballing that up, saying, does that look good? Does that look distressed enough? And I now take the sponge and I go around the edge of my panel. Now this panel is also cut with a decal trimmer. The decal trimmer edge is wavy, but it's not sharp. Oh, looks like I grabbed the other blending tool for a second. The old-fashioned blending tools with the little foam, flat foam. But then I switched back to the black foam blender there that I have in my hand right now. I must have liked it better. Yeah, this takes just a few minutes, but it gives you a little bit of contrast. It sets the panel off a little bit. You can also do it if your panel is not cut with a decal trimmer, just smooth on the edges. I'm going to use my tape runner to affix this book paper down to my card panel. I'm afraid if I use glue, it'll be too wet and it will seep through the paper because the paper is really thin. Just getting some tape on the back of this. I'll go ahead and grab my panel and put this paper down on top. So you see it still has that nice wrinkly look, but it will lay flat because I put so much tape on the back of it. Right, there's my praying hands, and there's my sentiment, thinking of you during this difficult time. I need to ink blend the edges of my sentiment as well. So stay tuned to the end of the video. I will have a still shot or a photograph of the card that I made. I just want to say, if you like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please leave a comment below. I love hearing from you guys. It really does make it worthwhile for me. To see your comments just kind of keeps me motivated to make more videos. So I really would appreciate it if you would leave a comment. And if you're new to my channel, I would encourage you to subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified in the future of when I post more videos. I'll have links below in the description box of all the products that I used. And don't forget to use my discount code TJ10Tracy to save on your order. And don't forget, when you place your order in the description box, leave a comment letting them know that you heard about it from me. That way they'll know that I am doing a good job of sending people their way. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a hopeful day. Bye-bye.